everyone, Dr. Maiden here with a video titled Recommendation Letters 101. Okay, so this video is going to be 4 hot takes, 4 tips about recommendation letters that are really going to ease this process for you. All right, the first one is find the right person. So find the right person, or in most cases what you're looking at is a set of people, often 2 to 3 people. It's good in an academic career to really build out a bench of more people though that are willing to write for you. So to be thinking about starting that freshman year with building out your bench of writers, because things are going to keep coming up. Okay, you're going to have volunteer opportunities that you need writers for, internship opportunities, scholarships and fellowships if you're wanting to study abroad, when you're ready to apply for law school or med school or grad school. All of these things are going to require that you have a bench of people ready to write for you. And for each of those different things you're trying to do, the bench can rotate. Not everyone is going to be a perfect fit for every single thing that you're doing. So it's good to get a bench of 4 to 6 people that you have that have different talents, that know you in different ways. At least a couple of those, I'd say at least half of them need to be professors, okay? Professors that are teaching you, that you're doing research with, that you have some type of relationship with, okay? This is essential because one of the tips here within number 1, find the right person, is know the weight of the writer. So depending on what you're going up for, a professor letter in almost all circumstances is going to count more than something like a letter from an academic advisor, right? An academic advisor can often write a really good character letter, but if they're not able to speak to your research, your ability in a classroom, your decision-making skills, your critical thinking skills, if all they do is they can say, oh, you know, you're very personable and you do lots of volunteer work and you're always a pleasure to work with, right? They can be a great character witness, but you need, especially if you're going for something like scholarships and fellowships and higher education beyond your undergraduate degree, you need professors because those letters are stronger, okay? Even then it can be really useful. This is when you're getting into things like if you're wanting to apply for grad school, you need professors that are higher in rank, okay? So at this point, me being an assistant professor, that's great. But a letter from a full professor, a full tenured professor, that's stronger and can outweigh my letter. Even if I write a better letter than them, their name, their signature, again, depending on what you're applying for, that can matter more than my letter. So you need to know the weight of individuals, and you can talk to us about this. You can say, this is what I'm looking at applying for. This is who I have on my bench. What do you think? Okay? Ask your professors about it, and they'll give you advice. They'll give you feedback of, I'd stack it this way. I'd do that full professor, I'd do this assistant professor, and I'd do your academic advisor, right? We'll help you navigate that, okay? Another thing that you can do within this find the right person is ask around. Ask around for people who have used these professors before. Not everyone is good at this, okay? So whether you will get all of this information, right? There's like an unspoken list. There is a list. The Scholarships and Fellowships Office has this running list. No one writes it down anywhere, right? There's a list in our minds of professors that are terrible recommendation writers. Whether it's they write terrible letters, meaning they don't even fill a page, it's very bland, their version of a strong letter of support for you is really blah, or they're really difficult to work with. Something like they will say yes, but they're always waiting till the last minute, keeping you on pins and needles as to whether you'll actually submit, or they don't incorporate anything from your resume, or even just something like, did they offer to edit your stuff or even ask for a resume, right? Because that can be kind of a red flag too. If you say, hey, will you write me a letter of recommendation? And a faculty member just says, sure, right? That's kind of a red flag for you, because what you would want to be thinking is, you don't have any questions about what it's for or what my materials look like. That's a red flag, okay? So those are things you can be thinking about with this number 1 of find the right person, okay? Number 2 then, this one's pretty simple. Ask first. Ask first. Always, always, always ask first. Not after you've submitted, okay? So please don't do the whole, hey, I went ahead and submitted an application to this thing and wrote you in as a reference. Is that okay? Right? Don't do that. Ask us before you submit. And there's very important reasons why you should do that. Number one is they may be swamped and not have enough time. If you're trying to do something, you're like, I just found out about this really cool opportunity. I have to submit in 2 weeks. And your professor is sitting there thinking, I'm taking my kids to Disney World next week, right? They might just be feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't meet that deadline of 2 weeks, not with everything that I've got going on with my teaching and whatever. But what they can do, it's really difficult. We don't like to turn students down, so we can offer someone else in mind, right? So even if we say, I am so sorry, I'm swamped, please hit me for the next one, but I know how important this is to you, go ahead and ask this person, and I'm sure they'll do it, and I promise I'll do the next one. That might happen. Or it could be that you ask someone, like you come to me and you ask me for recommendation, and I say, all right, show me the details. What is this about? Give me your resume. I could look at it and be like, you know what? Honestly, looking at this, I'm not the best fit. I'm happy to do it, but I don't think I'm the best fit. I think the person you should ask, given this project, is this professor, right? Professor X, because they work in this field more closely. They have done this. They'll write you an even better letter than I could, right? We're very open and honest about that. We're not trying to pass the buck. We're trying to get you the strongest letter possible, okay? Another thing is that I'm going to need crucial details to write the strongest letter possible for you. So if you just apply to something and then expect me to do a letter and you haven't given me information, right? I could be like, well, I don't even know what I'm doing. What even is this? Okay? So always, always, always ask first. Let me say a quick word about the ask. What does this actually look like? Okay? You don't have to ask in person if it makes you uncomfortable, but it's always good practice to ask in person, especially if it's the first time you're ever asking for a letter from this person. So whether you pop by our office hours or you see us after class or something, or say, hey, can I come by your office hours and talk to you about something? It's always better to do it that first time in person, because the last thing that you want is a professor to get an email from you with your ask and be sitting there thinking, who is this person again? Right? Especially if we're not good at putting names to faces and things like that. You want us to feel confident and know who you are and see, oh, of course, you're always active in class. You do this, you do that. Of course, I'll write a letter for you. Okay? Then if you do the ask in person, you immediately, you can follow up with saying, I'll email you the details as soon as I get home. I'll email you all the details, my syllabus, my resume, as soon as I get home. Okay? That's an easy way to do it. Do the ask in person and say, I'll email you all the details once you get the yes. Okay? If you can ask by email, that's okay too. It is okay to do that. And in that email ask, you can provide all the details. So you can say something like, I'll give you a chance to look everything over. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you're willing to help. Something like that. So within that, in that first email, you can have the ask and all the information. So I'm processing it and I'm doing the step 2 stuff that I already mentioned of, am I the right fit for this? Is someone else going to be an even stronger writer for them? Right? So in person or in email, it's essential with the ask that we do number 3, okay? Number 3 is always provide the details. So part of your ask has to be the details. You need to give me your updated resume or CV. You need to provide a link to the opportunity. If it's a volunteer thing, if it's a scholarship thing, provide me a link to the opportunity. You need to provide me the name of a contact person about it if I have questions. And you need to give me your firm deadline. When do you need my letter submitted? Okay, so part of number 2 is the ask. The essential aspect of number 2 is number 3, which is give me those details. I have to have the details to write you the strongest letter possible. Okay, so this is where you can run into challenges of not getting a good letter. It could very well be that that's on you, not the professor. You didn't give us the material to write you the strongest letter possible. Okay, number 3, always provide us the details. Don't wait for us to ask you for them. You're asking me for the favor. Give me the details so that I'm not hunting you down. Okay? The last one then, number 4 on recommendation letters 101, follow up. Follow up, okay? Follow up during the process. More importantly, sometimes follow up after the process. So following up during the process, a gentle reminder is okay, right? Especially if it's something like some of these processes can go for a long time. So if you approach me in the summer about doing a Fulbright application, it's going to be October before there's a deadline. So there might be a campus deadline in August. You need to follow up with me. So if you ask me in June, shoot me that reminder email in mid-July, or shoot me the reminder email at the beginning of August and say, hey, there's a campus deadline of August 15th, blah, 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 okay? Gentle reminders are fine. Harassment is not fine, okay? Don't email me every day. Probably don't even email me once a week. That's too much, okay? If you ask me 3 months in advance, a monthly reminder is fine. That's totally fine, okay? Harassment's not okay. You're gonna upset people if you're harassing them. The last thing I'll say then, in terms of follow-up, is you should always, always follow up after it's done. It's just polite, and I can't tell you how many times, especially since I've lived in this world of grants and fellowships and advising. You know, I did it full-time for a couple of years. I've done it part-time for several years, all through my grad program. I can't tell you how many times students never follow up. You never let me know whether you won or whether you lost. I'll often read about your win like in a university newsletter and be like, well, that's great to know. Thanks. I'm so glad that I wrote you that letter, right? And not that we're looking for praise or that we're looking for a thank you, but it's just the frustration of like, I would have liked to know. I'm cheering for you. I'm rooting for you. It's important that you keep us in the loop and let us know, yes, one of my students did this great thing. They won this scholarship. They're going to go study in Arabic in Oman, or they're going to go and do research in France. That's so cool. I'm so excited. Okay? It allows us to cheer for you even more and to congratulate you, right? Bring us into that process. Whether you win, whether you lose, follow up. So I hope this is helpful. These are just these 4 tips for you. Find the right person. Ask first. Give those deets, all the details. Follow up. That's Letters of Recommendation 101. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me, and I hope this was helpful. Happy letter of recommendation hunting. All right. See you guys later.